You're listening to Creatively Geeky, the support group for your creative process.
Hello, and welcome to the Creatively Geeky Show, episode number 50, where it's a kind of a little bit of a landmark here for us. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight, I'm joined by Cyrus, Kris, and Ray. How are y'all doing?
Excellent.
All right, cool. This is our last. We got things mixed around. We explained it last episode, but so this is our catching up episode. What we've been working on, what we've been doing. It's that episode. So, I guess it's kind of a little more fitting we're doing this one on the 50th. But anyway, that being said, would anyone like to go first as to what you said you were going to work on and what you've been doing? I'll go first. No one jump on it immediately. So let's see here. I had work on shop, work on armor. A little bit has happened on both of those parts. So as for the shop, I did hit a major milestone in that we finally got air conditioning installed in the shop. I was hoping it was going to cool it down more, but I also have to keep remembering that there's this giant garage door that's probably just like leaking, cold air like a sieve. But that being said, so I did go buy some, it's not ABS foam. What is it called? Anyway, it's the thicker, like pink insulation foam that you can get. That it is a form of styrofoam. Anyway, so I went and bought some sheets of that, and I have insulated the back of the garage door. And it's keeping the shop about 10 to 13 degrees cooler than the rest of the shop, than the big garage. I really think it won't start maintaining that, like, kind of keeping, a constant temperature until I get that wall built. But that's going to be a little further down the line. There's some other projects I've got to take care of first, which I'll be talking about here in just a second, which is working on the armor. So when I said that, I was primarily focused on, I need to start working on Alex's armor. So I think I've told this story before, but last year when we were trick-or-treating, I reminded the boys, I was like, yeah, so, Nick, hopefully you can wear your Stormtrooper armor again next year, or your Clone Trooper armor next year. We may have to make some modifications to them.
Did you just mix up the Stormtrooper and the Clone Trooper? Did you?
Yeah. You did it before the show. You jerk. Anyway, see, I told you even I do it, and I get reprimanded on it. Anyway, so I was like, I'm sure we're gonna have to work on that a little bit, and then I'm gonna start working on Alex's. And he tells me, he goes, "Well, Dad, I think I want to be Bumblebee," and I'm just like, my heart just sank. I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, that is a lot of foam work. And then he tells me, he goes, "Oh, not the one from the new movie," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "The old one," and I'm like the old boxy one from the 86 Transformer cartoon? And he's like, "Maybe." So I pull up a picture. He goes, "No, not that one either." And I'm just like, "Well, which one are you talking about?" He's like, "This one." He pulls it up, and it's the Bumblebee skin from Fortnite. And it would still be a ton of work because it is very much looks more like, it's more humanoid. So there's a lot of curves and stuff. And I'm just like, oh God, I hope someone has done this on Etsy, because I'm going to be starting from scratch on this. And then as time has gone by, he started playing the game Helldivers 2 and decided he wants to be one of the characters from that. So I immediately went to Etsy, and sure enough, I found a foam armor template that I can download. I'm actually, after the show, I'm going to go get some measurements off of him, because the guy was like, "I've designed this for roughly a 6-foot adult. But if you need it modified, let me know, and I will modify it for you before you buy it." So I'm like, dude, first off, that's awesome. So I'm going to go measure the boy, get some measurements off of him, and then I'm going to reach out to this guy after the show and be like, "Hey, yes, I definitely want the armor. If you can make these modifications, that'd be great. If not, I'll have to resize it myself." The other thing I've got to figure out is, I've never played the game. I've never really done anything with it. It is a lot less armor, so it's going to be a lot less than the Clone Trooper build I did. But it looks like it's like just kind of like a black tactical pant, so that shouldn't be hard to find. But it's almost like kind of a jacket type thing that they wear, and it just has some yellow going up it. So I need to locate it, get it to my mom, and be like, hey, I need you to stitch this on, stitch this on there. And then as long as I can get the armor together and painted and everything, should be okay. I'm kind of getting ramped up business, being busy with Ghostbuster stuff as Halloween is creeping up on us here. But I do have a week off for, we have a fall break now. So I have a feeling I'll be doing a lot of that work then too. So, but I'm hoping not to push it that far back. I'm hoping to get started on it before then. I have been taking steps already going towards Halloween. Just the other night, I got Nicholas's clone trooper armor down and was like, all right, bud, we need to make sure this still fits. Well, the undersuit thing that he wears still fits because it's a stretchy material anyway. So that fit, that was fine. And kudos to the boy. He's put on multiple inches since last year, height-wise, and apparently he hasn't put anything else on around his gut because all of the chest armor and like this armor all fit just fine. The one part I am going to have to modify are the hips. So I had to do a cut down the hip here. I'm going to have to add some elastic there because it wasn't going all the way up like it should. I was like, yeah, your legs are a little bit bigger, bud, but that's fine. As long as you didn't put any more around here, dude, that's good job. Wish I could say the same. And then the other issue that we ran into last year, and I've started working on it. So this is the Captain Rex helmet that I built, and it was fogging up. And I mean, everyone in the 501st will tell you, yeah, that's a constant problem. So I was trying to figure out places that I could add vents to it. And so I cut 2 slits back here on the back, and then I drilled out these little holes right here. And I mean, that's probably not making that much of a difference. But then on the front, what I did was, it's kind of hard to see, but I cut out some material here.
Yeah.
You can kind of see back over here. Yeah. It's kind of like right. There we go. Yeah, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. And so that's definitely helping, but it was still fogging up pretty bad. So I also cut some slits here on all these black areas. And from a distance, you can't really tell at all.
No.
And yeah, that's helping, but it's still somewhat fogging up. I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to have to cut something up top here to help just release the heat. The other thing that I was told by some of the 501st members was to get Rain-X and put on the inside, and that would help it. That would help anti-fog it as well.
Or so that should work. Or there's it's very similar material, but without the smell of Rain-X, or snow goggles, like for skiing and snowboarding.
Okay, I may have to look into it because I've already got some Rain-X stuff for our new showers that I have to use from time to time. So I may already have some of it, but if I don't, I'll go ahead and specifically grab some of that.
Actually, I was going to suggest looking at some of the tech that they have for them, because they have some amazing tech that could probably be utilized for that. So
yeah. So let me ask you this before I go on to anything else that I've been working on, because this has crossed my mind. He's already told me, he's like, well, I figured this is probably the last year I'm going to be able to wear it. And I'm like, yeah, if you keep growing the way you're growing, that's probably the case, without having to expand even more parts. I have not asked him this yet, but I'm sure I could sell this as an entire set. Like, I probably wouldn't make a lot of money off of it. Even if I made back like the initial materials cost, I would probably be happy about that.
Yep.
But if I can't sell it with the helmet, I'm like, will this sell still? Like,
yeah.
So I would think it would, but
good.
It should.
I don't know.
Yeah, you would get more with the helmet, obviously.
Oh yeah, because if he tells me, yeah, we don't have to hold on to the helmet, you can sell the helmet, then yeah, I'm jacking the price way up, because that was a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think you'd have a problem selling it.
Should be able to.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's something that's crossed my mind as I'm making some of this stuff. I'm like, if I had a ton more room and could buy a mannequin or make a mannequin, yeah, that would be badass to have freaking, Captain Rex sitting over in the corner, standing over in the corner. That would look awesome. Yeah. But I don't have that kind of room.
And I'm just like, would make a massive change.
Do what?
your Halloween decorations would be a massive change.
Yeah, it would be. And speaking of such, like I've got a much bigger yard than I used to have. I just don't think I'm going to have the time to do more tombstones this year. It may just be something I have to push to next year because it'll be different when I have a shop set up and running and stuff. Because then I could, it doesn't matter how cold or hot it is. I'll just go in there and work. Summer, winter, whenever. So I've kind of decided, yeah. Plus, I've still got to get out the tombstones I have and see if I'm going to have to do any touch up on them because just being in the heat like they were, some of the paint may need to be a little touched up a little bit here and there where they've gotten banged up or whatever. So I'm going to have to go through and do some of that. But then, like I said, I've got an armor set. I've got to start building. I've got to start doing some research on like the clothing underneath it. I've got to go buy the elastic that I can take care of the legs on his costume. Still got to finish up that. And then something else that came up. So I have an event, not this weekend, but next weekend. It's I believe it's next weekend. It's the Costa Superhero Run. And we've been invited multiple times to be at it. And so the Austin Ghostbusters will be there taking pictures before, during, and after with anyone who wants to do pictures. But it's this big fun run they do every year. It's a marathon run that they do that they encourage everyone to dress up in costume or whatever. And some people go really all in. Some people, will buy a Superman costume or a Wonder Woman costume or whatever and run the race or whatever. And then like a lot of times they'll come, over want to get pictures, beforehand or whatever. A couple of our group members have run it before. But it's, even though it's like from 7 to 11 in the morning, it gets hot because it's at the Circuit of the Americas, which is the F1 track that's here in Austin. And even though we're not on the track itself, it still attracts a lot of heat. So it gets really hot. And so we have all decided as a group, we're like, okay, we need a new version of our uniform. And so we've been coming up with more heat-friendly versions. It's kind of funny. The new movie that just came out this last year was, Frozen Empire, and one of the things they added was this big, heavy-duty red coat. And when we all saw it, we're like, well, that's great for all the Ghostbusters up north, but like we might get to wear it like once. So we've kind of independently started coming up with some stuff. And so I now have I bought a pair of khaki shorts and a khaki shirt, and then I can wear one of our Ghostbuster shirts underneath it. Well, I wanted it to still look somewhat like the uniform. So I went ahead and bought the name tag that goes on it. And then, of course, our patches on the left arm and the normal Ghostbusters patches on the right arm. And the last time, I should have grabbed it before we started the show. The last time that I had someone put patches on for something was my mom. And she kind of got the Ghostbusters, our patch, like angled a little bit. And it's not enough that it super bothers me that I've actually done anything about it. But every time I look at it, I'm just like, grr, and then I forget about it and move on. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to try to sew the patches on this shirt myself. The name patch was not that hard because it's got a pocket right here, so I could just like match it up to that. So that was fairly easy and fun. But when it came to doing our patch, I had to like pin it on, like put the shirt on, ask my partner, is this correct? He's like, no, it needs to go back a little further or whatever. And so I did that, and then I stitched it on there, and I thought it looked pretty good. And then I got up and I was just like, it's totally cockeyed, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. So I had to take that back off and readjust it. And I got that on pretty good. And then the next day I got the other one on, and it's a little off, but it's not bad. It's pretty good. But it was two things I learned. Number one, I understand the use of thimbles now.
Yeah.
So I literally bought some thimbles. They're cheap, and as soon as I got them from Amazon, I put one on. Just like, oh god, this would have made life so much easier. But like when I was taught to sew, what little bit of sewing that I know, I was taught you thread the needle, and then you take one of the ends and you tie 2 or 3 knots in the end of it, and you keep going doing that maneuver. And I was like, I wonder if there's am I missing something? Is there an easier way of doing this? And so I went online And I found a woman on YouTube, and she's like, well, here's how I sew things on, blah, blah, blah. And what she did was she took the thread and she threaded the needle, and then she took both ends and matched them up and tied a knot in that, so that there's a continuous loop. Like the thread cannot come off of the needle. It's not possible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's how
I've always
done it. Yeah.
See, that's not how I was taught. And so that one of the things that you always had to do was, like, when you're pulling the needle through, you had to make sure you grab the needle roughly at the end, so that you made sure that as you're pulling the needle, the rest of the thread didn't just automatically come off.
Oh.
That would also only cause a single stitch to go through, whereas tying it, both of them together, it's technically 2 stitches going through every time. And I was just like, how did I never know this? Like,
how to sew.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember if it was my mom. It was.
Well, no, because in tailoring, they only need one thread.
Well,
it's like a whip stitch. So you're only using that one.
And see that then now that I think that, if you're saying that, it probably was my mom, because her mother was a seamstress. And so that's probably how she was taught to do it as well.
Yeah. It's like, it's so you,
yeah,
it's like
I was always
an
taught
invisible thing.
Yeah. So I was always taught.
That's what we were taught.
You take it,
tie them together,
basically folding in half.
Yeah.
I always loop it around my finger, just roll it, and then pull, and it ties the knot for you.
So, but yeah, as soon as I did that, I was like, yeah, this seems much better, because I'm not, like I said, constantly worried about just the other problem is just that, like I said, that's where the thimble would have come in nice, because going through the material is one thing, but going through that and then through the patches, because some of the patches in some of the thicker areas, well, I've got one right here.
Yeah. I used to sew patches on when I was a teenager.
This is very much kind of like our patch. This is actually the one for Hook and Ladder, which, it's kind of funny that I actually have this one, considering it, the date. But yeah, so, I was specifically, trying to sew it here around the edge, and was trying to make sure I didn't get to the super thick part there and everything else. So, but I think I did a fairly decent job. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty sure nothing's going to come off anytime soon. So, but yeah, I'm excited to be able to wear that at this event coming up next weekend. So I'm not going to just be dying. Although it's funny, because at the last one, we were at, one of our guys, he also does other cosplay stuff. He bought these fans, and I ended up buying one as well. It's battery operated. So, I mean, you just charge, it's like the normal charging batteries like you'd have for pretty much any other power tool. It runs off of that, but it sits on a 10-gallon bucket. You fill it with water, and it's got a pump in it. So not only is it a fan that you can run off batteries, it's also a mister, and it's fantastic. Like, I had it up on the back porch one day during the summer, and I'm like, oh my God, this makes such a difference. Like, it doesn't even have to be cold water. It can just be like room temperature water, but just the fact that it's misting on you, it brought the temperature down so much faster. So, but anyway, so I need to, and now that I think about it, I've got to make a mental note that I make sure I bring that next weekend. So, but anyway, so besides the shop, working on costume stuff, yeah, that's what I've been working on. So, and it's probably going to be copy paste for next month, but we'll get to that in just a bit. Would anyone like to go next?
I'll go.
All right, Kris.
Just sit there.
All right. So you had writing, reshape / add flower beds, mostly finished blanket.
So I didn't write all summer.
Really? Okay.
Didn't. So much so that I wrote yesterday and I forgot where I was. And forgot.
And I had to reread it and you had figure out how I was too.
I have this outline. It's like a rough little outline. And I had switched stuff around. Well, before the summer, in that mind, I was like, yeah, I know exactly what all these arrows mean, and switching around. I've got it in my head. 2 months off, and then I look at it again. I'm like, what the fuck did I mean? So I had to redo the last part of my the outline, because I totally forgotten the thought process that I had going on. But I did yesterday, and I wrote a few hundred words. I finished up a chapter that had been just sitting there since before summer. I just found that my schedule went out the window, and I kind of don't know how that happened, because Logan was gone for pretty much the whole summer, and Quinn was back and forth between here and camp. And so I had a lot of downtime. Just this summer, it just went. So I'm hoping to pick it back up. Ray got me a walking pad. It's a bit of a Frankenstein setup, but I'm learning how to write and walk on the walking pad at the same time.
Oh, nice.
It feels really weird when you step off that walking pad after you've been on it for about a half an hour. It's disoriented. It's like you've been jumping on a trampoline and then you hop off the trampoline and you start walking around and it feels weird.
The earth is too hard.
Yeah, the earth is too hard.
I was going to say, or if you've been swimming for like all day and you get out and you're sitting there and you're just literally going back and forth like this and you're like, I know, why am I still moving? There's no water that's swashing me around.
Like on Waterworld, they get earth sickness.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's an adjustment. And just trying to work that back, which will be easier now that we're sort of back into school and stuff. I did not add garden beds. I've been maintaining them really well this year, though. This year I've been and we added more plants. Okay, is that what you want? Okay. So
I took down a fence.
You took down part of a fence. Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
It was falling over. Like the middle post was completely rotted.
Yeah.
But we had this like crap lattice fence that was between our front yard and our neighbor's driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how long it had been up there for, but the middle post had been completely rotted away. Like you couldn't even lean on it. The thing, like you just pushed it over. Essentially.
One post was already, it was rotted out to the point that it came out pretty quick. The other post, it took 2 pushes, and then the other 2 posts took 4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were done.
So and they weren't cemented.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. So we added some U's to that. I'm making
2 what?
Sorry. 2 Utes. 3 Utes. As the fence, and they'll grow in. It'll take some time, but it'll be nice because you can shape them and they look really, it's nice to have some evergreen in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you take down our front awning, because it's actually collapsing in on itself because it wasn't put up properly, he's going to put kind of like a
lattice
structure in its place. So you picked it out. It's a honeysuckle vine with these really cool, like sherbet.
It's called celestial.
Yeah, but the flowers on it are like a sherbet orange.
Yeah.
And so and it grows, oh gosh, it's like 20 something feet. So it'll grow up the side of the house and then across and fill in this trellis thing.
Cool.
And the flowers look really cool against the house. And then we bought one for our garden shed to grow up and over, and it's got these little teeny tiny white flowers, and they're really pretty. And apparently it's an aggressive grower, vigorous grower. Except
vigorous
that
grower. Okay.
It's sensitive. It needs a lot of water. I don't know if I planted it. The whole description was like it grows in poor conditions. It's a vigorous grower, and I'm like, it's the most temperamental thing. I have to water it more than anything else. Hoping because it's in the back part of our yard. Nothing really grows there because it's really shady because of all our neighbors' mature trees.
It's kind of weird because half the day it gets full sun and then it goes full shade.
Full shade
for the rest of the.
Yeah, we have parts of our yard that don't get any sun. Yeah. But I've been way better this summer at maintaining the gardens than I have been previous summers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. I will have to next year definitely reshape a bed in the front because we're going to be putting up our fence. So I'm definitely going to have to do that just because I'm going to have to.
Yep.
And then the blanket was not the blanket that I was thinking of, but I did make Logan a blanket so she could take to school. And she picked out the yarn and the color, and it's this really soft, it's blanket yarn. It's like this, I forget what it's called. But it's so soft. It made all my other blankets feel like sandpaper. I'm like, ugh,
wow.
So soft. And I made it gigantic and it's heavy. So she's got it at the end.
She's happy with it.
Yeah, she's got it.
I'll bet.
Right now. She just likes, so there's a little couch in their kind of living room area and they've set up a Wii. So right now they're spending a lot of time in their own rooms, but once they get into the groove of things, so she brought it out there and she's a girl that like in the middle of the winter, she just likes throwing a blanket over herself. So yeah, so that's, whole blanket. way more yarn than I thought. I made the pattern up myself and had to buy like 4 more balls of yarn.
Yeah.
I underestimated how tall Logan is. Even though she's the same height as me, I should know, but like,
But still.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So you didn't finish the other one. You completely lapped it and did another one. Fair enough.
Yep.
Nice.
So that counts.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. You just said finish blanket. You didn't say which one. So
no, I didn't. So look at that. Passing.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Ray. Let's see what you had. Why am I getting blank?
Probably nice to yourself.
There we go. All right, you had finish Spider-Gwen print, do additional print, learn a song.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
Not bad.
That's good.
Not bad.
2 out of 3?
Yes.
So I did finish the Spider-Gwen print. Pretty happy with the way
it was
all
really
things
good.
considered. I did finish the other print, and I will probably reveal next week.
Okay.
It's not quite ready yet, but I've also been doing more life drawing classes, so which has been really good and challenging. The time limit on how fast you have to draw really forces you to like be accurate but be bold and like, okay, this is my line. All right, now where's the next line? Go off of that. So I've really enjoyed that process. The last session was canceled because the model wasn't able to make it. She had a family emergency, so but it's been a good challenge. I've really enjoyed the process. It's been really good.
You've gotten you can even tell from when your first session too, even though you've only done a small handful of them.
I'll send a couple more updates as long as you guys are okay with it.
Again, not
So I'll send a couple more updates as to what my last process was. And then because the whole point is to try and draw bigger as well. So the plans I was working on were 14 by 11 or something like that. Like, they were a good size. I'm now moving up to a fairly large sheet. I think it's 20 by like 32 or 20 by.
It's like double the size.
That's
quite
pretty
large,
big now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm moving to that, and as I was trying to find a drawing board to put the paper on, because the paper back isn't enough, especially with this one because it's so floppy. So I was looking up different people's versions, and a lot of them are wood. And I was a little weary of wood because I knew it was going to be heavy. And then I came across another post. He's like, go get a 1/2-inch foam board with cork on the back of it, and you're laughing. And just cut it to the size you need.
That makes sense.
And it was great. It was probably the best idea I've seen. I just need to find proper bowl clips, and then I'm good. So yeah, that was probably my best. But I'm finding that I'm really enjoying charcoal. So in the compressed state, as well as birch charcoal, when you put it on at first, is quite dark is what it looks like. And then if you mess up, it brushes away so easily, and it's very delicate. And so it actually cleans up nicely. So my quick sketches are usually birch, and then I'll move into the heavier compressed soft charcoal because I enjoy shading. That's my
You're really
style.
good at that.
So,
yeah.
I'll do a good outline, and again, I'll show you the pictures, but I try and get my lines down, then go in heavy with the shading around the model, and then really get the shading of the person using a brush that pushes the charcoal around. So just my own way of doing it. Other people do cross hatching or like use different types of charcoal that are not as easily brushed away. But I enjoy using that softer charcoal. So yeah. I haven't touched the guitar, but I have been listening to a lot more music as well. So that's been kind of my thing of like, I want to try and get back into what songs do I actually want to learn and that route. So yeah.
All the driving we've been doing, it's been a lot of basically dad rock.
Yep.
90s
lot
dad
of
rock.
Yeah.
lot of dad rock. I'm okay with
it. Yeah.
All right. Which brings us to Cy. Cy, you were pretty rough on yourself. You had nothing. You didn't. What are you doing up there?
So I recorded about 2 minutes of me just sitting here, and then I've been playing it the whole time. Y'all
I thought you were, but I was just like, he's not responding. He's just like, what?
I thought you were listening.
I just wanted to see what happened. I was very curious about it. So.
That's hilarious. If you're not watching the video version on YouTube, go to about the 30. No, we'll just say we cut off about 3 minutes or so, about the 30-minute mark, somewhere around there, and watch the video. We're all like, "What?" So, nicely done, sir.
Thank you.
Anyway, so yeah, you didn't have anything. You said you were.
I feel like I've accomplished all that.
I'm glad to hear. So I'll just ask a question. So how's the move over to Rumble been?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, I've changed my setup. We were talking about that earlier. I'm doing things a little different. Mainly just streaming, not really doing videos anymore. And it's just Rumble. And the audience is small, but it's familiar. It's people that like once in a while somebody new will show up, but it's a slow build. Like it's so bizarre. Like YouTube, I haven't done anything on YouTube. No videos, and yet I keep getting subscribers, and my view count has gone up.
So not doing anything is causing you to get more people.
Yeah, and the watch hours have gone up, which is even crazier because like I haven't done anything. No new content of any kind. I get comments all the time. It's bizarre. I've thought about maybe doing something on YouTube, but I don't like YouTube.
Then don't do it.
Yeah, I don't think I will, because it's like going backwards, and I'm tired of going backwards, I spun my wheels on YouTube for a long time, and it's the funny thing is I have pretty close to 3,000 subs again, like I did before I killed my other channel, which is so bizarre to be back to that. But I'm not killing that channel. I don't have any desire to do anything on it right now, but it doesn't mean I never will. It just means I don't. Anyway, Rumble's interesting because it's so political. Rumble is filled with politics, and politics that I don't necessarily appreciate that much.
Right.
But that's sort of the fun of being there, because I feel like I'm not supposed to be there. And
kind of like the podcasters that first showed up on and makers and stuff that first started showing up on what's the one that Amazon does?
I don't know. Amazon.
No, I've seen OnlyFans where people jumped from YouTube to OnlyFans, didn't change their content.
No, it's what's the one that used to start out? It was just video game streaming. Twitch, yes.
Twitch,
it's like when the makers and stuff started showing up on Twitch, and they're just like literally there were podcasters that were just like, yes, I am playing this Nintendo game. And they were literally just like doing their normal show. And they're just like, it's very obvious. They're like, I'm obviously not doing anything. I'm holding a controller, said I'm doing something. I'm just doing the show just so that I can be here. So I was going to say, is that kind of how you're feeling? You're just like, I'm not really supposed to be here, but I'm here anyway.
Well, I'll say this. So I have friends that are also on Rumble. And most of them have either left or sort of faded off, or are now doing politics. And so I find that a little bit disappointing. It does affect my I don't know, my mood, I guess. It makes me wonder about what I'm doing. You know, I like Rumble. I'm having a good time, but I do wonder how long I'll be there. I do wonder about that.
Well, just hang out there until you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Or
pretty
they
much
kick you off, one of the two. So,
and they might, because at some point somebody's going to make me talk about politics, and I don't want to talk about politics, but
no, fuck that.
it's not going to be what people want to hear.
Or, well, no, I was going to say, you don't want to bring that up. I was going to say, you could bring up politics of like video games and stuff. It's like, you ought to pick something really, really stupid and just be like, you know, listen, he thinks he knows what he's talking about or whatever, but obviously, like, fucking the Burger King he's a dictator. Like, how can you trust a dictator? And like argue Ronald McDonald, like do something real crazy bullshit like that. If they're like, hey, you gotta do politics. I just did. There you go. There's your politics. McDonald's versus Burger King.
I voted for Krotos.
Well, I do have I have an idea. I told you about this a long time ago. I had an idea for a movie series, like 3 or 4 movies based on G.I. Joe. And it actually is fairly political.
Okay.
So I could actually go into the politics of Cobra and what they're actually all about and how that could appeal to the masses and convince people that they should follow
Cobra.
They should become a member of Cobra, because in Cobra, no one has a name. They all have a handle or a designation. They all cover their face. There's no country. You know, it's a organization where the individual is no longer important.
Right.
No, I will not do that. I will not do politics. No, I don't have any plans. But I was on a show the other night. Somebody said, so what do you have coming up on your channel? And I'm like, I don't know. Playing games stuff. And they're like, you don't have any, like, you know, I'm like, no, I don't. And then I was like, I started to recreate the Joker. I don't have, do I look like a man with a plan? I just do. I wouldn't know what to do with a car if I got one, you know? I once upon a time, I did think it would be good to have a schedule and have like a regular night when I did this or that and blah, blah, blah. And I realized immediately before I even tried to do it that I would rather shoot myself in the foot with an actual rifle, like a rifle, and blow my foot off and then bleed out and watch my cats like try to keep me from dying. Yeah. Oh, eat me. Okay, that's the other thing, I guess. Or we could eat or we could watch it.
Oh, get political now.
Yeah, here we go. So neighbors might want to try and eat my cats, and I can't die because I got to protect my cats from my neighbors.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I thought about doing was the Alex McCracken thing. That's a parody of politics, you know. But I just can't. I can't.
No, don't do it, man.
Don't give in.
I don't need the attention. I don't care. I'm not looking for that.
Yeah, there's a couple of podcasts I listen to that are about politics, and the guy was like, listen, he's like, yes. He's like, I understand a lot of people are just like, well, you know, they're slinging money. So he goes, yeah, we're like a month out. This is when you're supposed to do it. This is when the norms are supposed to go start doing stuff. The other 3 years that I'm following this stuff, I'm supposed to be the outside crazy. Leave, go away, like go back to your normal lives, people. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, I totally get that. So, but no, don't do it. Don't do it.
I have nothing to say anyway. Like, what do I have to? That's the thing that I've learned. The older I've gotten, I really don't have anything to say. Like, I don't know why anybody listens to me, because I really don't have anything to say. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to educate you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really particularly interesting. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like,
I am not helping you. Like,
well, you know what I mean? What are you going to listen to me for? Like, I'm just, every stream I do is literally just me hanging out with people, and we're just fucking around. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's all I got. I got nothing else.
Isn't that life?
Life,
That's
isn't it?
life, isn't it?
Okay, well, as you get older or you've been ground up by this stuff long enough, you figure out, yeah, that's really what there is. That's really what you should be doing. Like the whole,
Let's
you
fuck
get this
around.
big head and think, oh, I'm going to have my voice on this
Right.
now. It's like, who are you? Why
Yeah.
would I care what you think?
If I'm going to be myself, this is what it is. Otherwise, I become a character, and I don't want to be a character. So
Right.
this is me. So
Fair enough.
whatever.
Jim Carrey went through that.
Yeah. I feel like that's the beauty of being in your 40s is that you sort of just, it's like, who the fuck cares? Like,
Yeah.
like, no. It's
Right.
just dumb.
Yeah.
The beauty of getting
Fuck
old.
it, and let's just enjoy what we can.
I'll say this also. The past few years since everything, I've been through a lot of stuff. We'll just say that on the internet. We've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And what I've learned finally, I figured this out maybe a year and a half ago, was who gives a crap what anybody has to say about anything I do? Like the big thing on YouTube, especially, is to talk about other YouTubers. That's like the big thing, right? I refuse to participate in that. And I fell into that for a while. And then I figured out, oh, this is absolutely putrid and horrible. And I don't want to do this. So I just won't.
Mhm.
And when I decided not to is when I figured out that YouTube really wasn't for me. Because that's really what YouTube has become, is this gossip like cesspool, you know? And I'm just like, wow. Like, I don't know when, maybe it was always sort of that way and I just didn't realize it, but it is definitely, it's not something I want to participate in. So anyway, yeah, I just hang out. And it's not that I just want to do video game stuff, but it's, I don't know. It's like something to talk about that's interesting. And I don't want to talk about movies. Movies have become like politics now. Like you talk about movies and everybody gets upset and it's like this whole thing and there's all this drama. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't even talk about movies. You can't talk about, it's like, I mean, once upon a time, Eugene, once upon a time, long ago, before the dark times,
Before the Empire.
we had a
We
show.
all know the line.
Yeah. We had a show. A show was called One Man Asylum.
Yeah.
And a big part of that show was talking about movies and TV. That was a big part of that show. And we talked about it in a way that nobody talks about movies and TV anymore. They don't talk about it like, oh, let's just talk about this stuff and give our opinions about shows and stuff and what we think and actors and blah, blah, blah. Now it's all factions and like, you know, like, oh, you liked Brie Larson? Oh, you're one of those people, you know? Oh, you liked you liked that movie Mark Hamill did? Oh, so you're on board with everything Mark Hamill believes. Like it's all bizarre.
Yeah.
Now. It doesn't make any sense anymore. So, but it would be fun, wouldn't it? To do One Man Asylum again once in a blue moon, maybe like as a fun thing.
I've thrown it out there for a
Group therapy.
April Fool's episode to just go full on pretend like we never stopped the show.
We would
try
have to get
as
Jay.
many of the old people back. But like
Yeah.
if Ray was never on the old show, but we could have Ray would just be the guy that joined us as we were going along. But we would just like the only thing is though, is I was thinking about it. I was just like, man, I'd have to go back and recreate some of the music and stuff. And I was
Dude,
like, well, it
nobody-
would change over time. So I would do something with that.
Nobody would even understand. Like
No,
nobody,
they wouldn't. And that'd be the funniest part would be, because here's the thing, since I took down those old streams, you can't find them. Like if you know the specific web address, you can find them. Like I've shared it with y'all, but like there's no public way to go resubscribe to that show. You know, now that I think about it, I wonder if you went to the Wayback Machine and you found it, because it's not like I ever changed the addresses on that. So maybe if you went in the Wayback Machine, you could find our site, the old site, and see if those links still work. Because like I said, the files themselves, the link to the files never changed. They've always been the same. So anyway, But no, that has crossed my mind from time to time to do an episode like that in April, just because I think it would be hilarious to, especially if we picked it up from last week. So I was talking about how bad PlayStation Network was going down. You still think like literally pick it up like nothing ever changed. We were doing this show for 11 fucking years or whatever it's been.
I will tell you this though, if we were to do that, dude, you talk about all of a sudden getting attention. There would be people from the movie thing, from the game thing, from wherever, and the different factions of the different whatever political. I don't even understand all that crap. My buddy Max, the guy I went hung out with up in Pittsburgh, his whole channel is that, like talking about the movie stuff and all that stuff. And I just will watch sometimes, and I'll just be like, dude, why do you want to do this? Like it's so. Everybody's so upset, you know?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, but it would be fun, wouldn't it?
Like I said, we could always try it one time. So I'd need to do a little work beforehand, but yeah, we could do it. So, I had written down a topic idea that I just wanted to throw out there. And I don't remember. I'm sure I was listening to another podcast or something, and someone brought it up. But the thing that I wrote down for myself was, and this would have been 2 months ago because, like I said, I messed up the order. How has growing up? And I think we're all coming from the same place here, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Really, Cy, don't go back to that. How has growing up with little money influenced how you make stuff? As in, like, you reuse everything. You forget that you can, like, and this is something that I'm very, like, just within the last few years have kind of realized. You forget that you can buy more of something. Like, it's like, yeah, well, I know this blade isn't very good, but it's what I've got. So I guess I'll just keep sharpening it, and I'll deal with it because it's what I've got. And you just forget you're an adult. Buying like 100 replacement blades for this X-Acto knife is like $5. Like, but you're stuck in that mindset of being a kid or growing up with not a lot of money. Like, you're like, well, this is here. If you want to make something, here's what you've got. That you've got this roll of tape. You've got this cardboard.
Yeah.
Go. I'm not going to go buy anything else. Make what you can with this, and that's it. And so, that's what it was. Now that I'm thinking about it, the reason I was talking about it kind of came up in my mind because I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about this, and some of the guys were that way. And they're like, yeah, he's like, one of the guys was like, yeah, to this day, I still hoard all of the spare parts of stuff. So if I cut something, and it's funny, there's a long running meme, especially for men, of, eventually you're going that cable, that HDMI cable, you've got 15 of them stuck in a thing. Sometime or another, you're going to need that exact one. And you're not going to have to go buy it because you've got that exact one. You're going to have that cable for whatever. And I'll be honest with you, it recently kind of happened to me. I was transferring some, here you go, Cy, here's a flashback. So my mom a couple years ago found a camera. It wasn't my original one, but she found a camera and said, hey, there's some tapes here. Do you want to see what's on it?
Oh boy, is this going to be a
You
mini?
recognize these guys?
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's none of our stuff. Honestly, most of it is, I don't know how I got a hold of it, but it's like, it's Rudy's wife's stuff. But there are a few things on here from after me, like after the time I was married or whatever. Cause like one of these tapes is like our cat giving birth. Like, but I was like, oh, let me see if I've got something I can transfer this. So I bought a transfer kit. It was all of about $20 on Amazon, but it has, component video, but it also has S video. And I thought, well, if I had an S video cable, I could plug it in. It might increase the quality, a little bit. I don't have any more S video cables. I literally tossed them out this last year as I was moving, and I was just like, why didn't I hold on to one? But it's that type of mentality. Do any of y'all ever find yourself in that mentality? Did you ever have that mentality? Making it? Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, just like that, buddy.
Wow.
Oh,
I do. Mine is that I will I have a hard time investing in like heirloom pieces because of their price tag. So I will buy the cheaper version, even though the cheaper version is crap, it's going to break. My mind cannot wrap around, like, even though this is more expensive, it's actually cheaper because it's going to last so much longer. I can't handle the sticker shock of it. So I will get the bargain basement knockoff price.
Yep.
Thing. And I'm fine sort of having to keep buying it because $30. So that's fine in my brain, because the initial upfront cost is just so expensive that I can't do it. Like, but for everybody else in the family, it's totally fine. It's me, like my thing. And same with food. Like the name brand stuff, I can't. A lot of our food is
okay, but it depends. It depends on what it is. And I even used to talk to my kids when I was teaching. I was like, wait, if y'all go to college, just realize there are some foods you can buy the knockoff version, and it's literally the same stuff, guys. Like, it is literally much cheaper, but it's literally the same stuff. There are a few things though you have to buy the name brand version because you are just going to be like. And for me, peanut butter was always on that list. Like, I was just like, the knockoff peanut butter tastes like they took the outside shell and crushed that up, and it's like, blah. But yeah, I was trying to impart that. But what you're talking about, when I was getting my associate's degree, I was in a class. Now this was at Texas State Technical College, so it's definitely more. It's more of a vocational school. It's a vocational school. But like we were having a discussion about tools and stuff in the class. It was part of the curriculum. And the teacher brought up the fact that he's like, how many people in here like DeWalt? All right. How many people you are Makita, like, and he's like, how many people in here like Black & Decker? And of course everyone kind of turned their nose up and goes, you don't like Black & Decker? And they're like, sir, those are like the cheapest, like kind of rinky-dink tools. He goes, yes, you're right. They are cheap and rinky-dink tools. He goes, and you know what? That's the first one I will grab if I'm doing something that I think I'm going to break it. Because I don't mind going to go buy another $20 or $30 drill if I think there's a chance that I'm going to accidentally burn out the motor doing whatever it is I'm doing on this process. He goes, do I want to use my, $500 drill on this? No, I would be a moron to do that. He's like, so just realize that every tool has a place. Everything, he's like, there are reasons why cheap tools are made. It's not just because they're the cheaper version. There's times where you might want to use them. Another thing I bring up, Adam Savage talks about this a lot. He's like, if there's a new tool you're interested in, go buy the cheapest version of it you can and use it and make that your decision. You know what? I think that I can make this part of my workflow. And then once you figure out, is it something you're going to use? Is it something you're going to use once and it's going to go sit on the shelf? Then whatever. He said, but if it's something you're going to use over and over, then not only have you decided this is worth it, but you can also go, you know what I don't like about this version? It doesn't do this, or it does this. It feels weird when it does this. It doesn't have enough power. And now you have a base to go off of to shop for the good version. And I was like, yeah, that's smart, because that's exactly what I did with it. I still have a Black & Decker drill. It's funny. I still have one that works. I've had it forever. But yeah, when I went to go buy my new drills, like I specifically researched and was like, oh no, these do the things that this other one doesn't do. And I've been very happy with them. But yeah, it's one of those mindsets. Like I keep finding myself going, why am I still like, especially with things that are supposed to be consumable things. And I'll be like, why am I still using this blade? I've sharpened it, and I've gotten probably more than cuts out of this thing than I probably should. And then I'll change the blade. And like I said, the blades only cost me a couple of dollars anyway, for a stack of 30 or 40 of them. And I put a brand new one in and it cuts so much better. I'm just like, why am I putting myself through this? I still have this mentality in the back of my brain that this is it. This is all you got. This is all you have to go with.
I just don't think it ever goes away, because it happens during those like hardwiring formative years. It's just in there, and it runs on autopilot in the background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't even think about it until something like that happens, and you're like, oh yeah, but you're still gonna fucking do it because it's part of your hardwired programming. Like,
what about you, Ray?
Yeah. What about you?
So,
what was your hardship growing up, bud? Huh? That's right.
Cyrus, what are you doing?
I'm just pretending like I'm the first frame. Sorry. I was trying to mess with you.
I grew up in a privileged house. I will fully admit that. I had two parents that worked full-time jobs. I never really wanted for nothing. Like there was always something.
Yeah. His parents are wonderful.
It
It was
great
yeah.
parents. I had a great childhood.
Mhm.
Neither of them knew how to craft. I will admit that.
Oh
Mhm.
no.
So I had to learn a lot of that on my own, and that is what I had was what I got, and so I had to be creative in that way.
And you didn't have handy parents either.
Did
like
not
tools
have
and
handy
stuff,
parents.
yeah.
Like I love my parents. My dad, I might ask help build a deck.
Mhm.
About it. And even then, no offense, Dad, I love you, but
He's like, why didn't you ask me to help? And he's looking at his dad like, Chris
Like,
is here.
my-
Like that's
my-
the same level of help. Like what?
my dad
Why?
offered to help. Like after I built the
It's a
bookcase and got it all in, and he's like, "Well, why didn't you ask me to help?" I'm like,
Help?
"Help?" I'm like,
No.
"Love you, Dad." No.
Because I don't want to add work to myself.
I don't want to supervise you.
That's all it is. And part of that is that's my time to just do my own thing, and like that's my own.
Yeah, but you've had to learn what tools
Yeah.
work and
So
what don't.
so for me, our first set of like woodworking tools were all the cheapest versions
Yeah.
of those that we could ever buy.
Like we have Canadian Tire, which is like our all-in-one sort of Lowe's situation.
It's like a Lowe's, like a cheaper
And
version
they
of
have
Lowe's
their
sometimes.
own brand of things. And when
Right.
it goes on sale, it goes on
It's like
sale.
70% off.
75% off. So you can get a table saw for like $170. Okay. He's used that thing within an inch of its life.
Yeah, like
because that's kind of what we could afford.
Yeah.
And so I cut my teeth that way, right? Like I really worked with those things. Then I got a better one.
Probably shouldn't use a table saw on your teeth. I'm just saying.
Well, it's good dental. So, and then I had a circular saw. That was a Mastercraft. It was for like, I think I bought it for $50. Like it was cheap and cheaply made, but I made that friggin' thing work.
You did it.
And it lasted me a decade.
Something like that, yeah.
Like it was a long time.
Longer than it should have.
Way longer than it should have. And in fact, my father-in-law showed me a trick of the trade where if you're cutting a metal sheet, you flip the blade backwards and you do this. And so we were cutting metal sheets with it and like doing a whole bunch of different things. It was done. It was toast. It was never square. Because the everything was a little bit flimsy on it, but it was solid enough to make a cut, but probably not square. Then I went and picked up a Makita. It was a I can't remember. It's a very different type of gear drive, a worm gear. It's a worm gear drive. That thing just cuts so much better.
Talk about the little hammer though that you bought me that you broke.
Oh. It's in my shop. I've talked about that on Creatively Geeky before. I bought her a
cute little hammer,
and I needed one, and I couldn't find mine at the time. I can't remember why. Anyway, I went to use hers, and make sure you have the right tool for the job. Because I totally broke it. Like I went to reef on it, and the head stayed where it was, and the handle came off. And so I've now mounted that in my shop as a reminder to have the right tool for the right job.
Nice.
I'll use a butter knife to unscrew the
drives me nuts.
outlet plates when I'm painting.
I mean, I've done it in a hard spot. It's like, do I really want to go all the way out there and look for this? There's butter knife sitting right there. It's literally just one screw.
Butter knife.
Yeah.
Or my thumb.
Oh. Nail. I've used dimes. We
dimes.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Your dimes are thin enough.
Our dimes fit perfectly.
Yeah, my chop saw is perfectly 90 degrees. But when I switch it over to the 45-degree angle, I'm like, I don't know if this is quite 45. And of course, when I put a square on it, I'm like, yeah, it's not exactly 45, is it? Yep. So yeah, I found that out when I was doing quarter round, different places. I was like, all right, chop this at 45, switch it, do 45 here, and you put it to butt it together, and you got a gap about that big, and you're just like, what the frack?
Remind me to show you a trick with that.
Well, whenever I actually squared it to 45, it corrected the issue. So, but yeah, so
if you didn't have square corners, there's a really good trick. I'll find the video. Basically, you cut, so you do a butt end for one piece against the wall. So it's a full corner, right? So there's no angle on the one. Then you do a 45 on the other one, and you use a grinder and cut away all the edge that is missing. Or sorry, that is like doesn't have a white face to it at all.
Right.
It will match perfectly every time, no matter what the angle is.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
Yeah. Little
Cy?
trick that yeah.
You are more so really, you're killing me here. You're more so a maker of digital things. I mean, when you're writing, that's not so much an issue, but you've made movies, you've made games, you've done YouTube, like, and I know when you were doing movies, you know, when we were growing up, I know you ran into the same issues that I did of, you know, hey, I want to do this movie, but I have no budget. So it's like, what do you do? Like,
oh, what do you do? Oh, I found out what you do, and that's why I only made one of those. You have to well, first of all, I'm way too old to try to do something like that ever again. Like, the only reason I even survived that is because I was like 22, 23 years old. That's the only reason. Like, literally, I thought I was gonna die. Like, because it was like I was working probably 10, 11 hours a day, and then I would get home, and I would, when I had to, I mean, I did everything wrong. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but it was like everything was wrong. I had to write a script, and I had like 2 weeks to do it, and I wrote the whole script in 2 weeks and smoked an enormous amount of cigarettes just to get through that. And then when we started to shoot the movie, I had no ability or time or anything to try to find locations or figure all that out or get props it was madness. And there was a lot of lying involved. I had to lie to a lot of people. And some of the people that I work with really resented that I had to lie to them. And I understand. I mean, that's crappy. You shouldn't have to lie to people. But that whole thing got out of control. You know, I wish I could have done it differently. We didn't. It was just a nightmare. It was like, so yeah, I'll never do it again. I mean, you can't do it the way we did it back then anymore. It's like things are different now. But like, what was the question?
Well, it was coming from the mentality of growing up, maybe not having a lot of money, like just learning to be creative or do what you want to do within those restrictions. You know
what I did when I was a kid?
This
was fun. I used to get a tape recorder, and I would tape record imaginary cartoons, and I would do voices for the different characters, and I would tape record battles. Like, I'd get my toys out, and I would record it on tape. And sometimes I would do it like the little trick where you press record and play a little bit at the same time, or pause and record at the same time, and you get and it would record, and your voice would sound super like Darth Vader, you know?
Yeah.
And but I did a lot of that. I did a lot of little audio radio shows.
I never knew that about you.
Oh yeah, I did.
That's awesome, dude.
Well, that's why I was always interested in audio. You know, I wanted to do radio. When we were doing television and radio broadcasting stuff, I took every radio class they had because I was very interested in the audio side of things. And I'm so glad I did. That was awesome. But I never worked at the radio station. I did, you know, obviously we worked at the TV station and everything, but I did have friends in radio when I came up to Dallas, and they had an actual radio show on 105.3. And you know, Brian, the guy from my movie, the guy that plays the bad guy, Argus, He was a host of the Mish. He was one of the hosts of the Mish show. The other guy was in my movie too, very, very briefly, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I've always found it fun to create in the theater of the mind, where you do things where people have to use their imagination. That's why I always found RPGs to be very interesting, like text-based RPGs. I used to make those. I don't know if I told you that when we had an Apple computer. Yeah, I used to make text-based RPGs, and then I tried to make graphical. Like I worked with the guy that did RPG Toolkit, and I tried to make a game that way, and it wasn't the same. I'm not an artist, like a visual artist. I can't draw. I'm not you, Ray. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that. And Eugene, I don't have your physical visual thing that you have. I just don't have that. I can do camera angles and stuff like that, sure, to an extent, but I'm really more of like a imagination guy, which is why I really enjoyed writing the books that I wrote. That was all imagination, and recording the audiobook version of the first book not the first book, the second book that I did was so awesome. I really enjoyed doing that. I don't know if anybody ever even heard it.
I did.
Oh, okay. Well,
I did, and I loved it.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoy that type of thing. And so if you want to, I don't know, I still don't know what the question is necessarily, but like, if you don't have money, you can find a way to create something very that will allow you to be expressive. And there's sometimes when you create something, you're not actually going to create it. You're going to create a blueprint for someone to fill in the gaps with their brain, and that's what I enjoy, is giving people giving people something for them to figure out how to let their imagination take care of it. I'll just give you, here's what I'm giving you, and then you take care of it. You make it in your head. I love that.
Sweet.
That's awesome. No, you completely answered it. You completely answered the question. So,
okay.
But no, it just, like I said, it crossed my mind, and I was just like, well, I wonder if anyone else goes through that. Even as an adult, like that, like I said, growing up, sometimes I forget, hey, yeah, you can go buy more blades to use in your cutting device. You can go buy more, ink or coloring pencils or whatever it is. Like, you don't have to constantly, when you get down to that much of a pencil, you can go buy a replacement, guy. Like,
I was going to say, I wanted to say real quick, when you were talking about that, like not letting go of stuff or keeping things around or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm the worst about keeping things that I will never need, but I don't want to get rid of them. Like, if I buy a desk that I got to put together and they give you extra pieces, I keep the extra pieces, and there's no reason to keep them, right? But I still can't bring myself to get rid of them. And it's like, why? I finally have started to get rid of some of that stuff, because my grandma was the worst about this. Like, my grandma had an entire room of her home where she had built all these little cubby holes where she put every random little anything that was extra in. And it was screws and bolts and nuts and tacks and this color of this thing and this type of twist tie and blah, 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 blah. Like, it was anything you could imagine. Never used any of that shit ever. So I know I have to let go of that. It's so hard. Like, dude, if I've ever had to get rid of an old PC, I literally grab every cable and every little thing out of that before I get rid of the case. Am I ever going to need that shit? Maybe.
Probably not, but you're
Probably
right. In the
not.
back of your head, you're just like, but there might be that one time. So
we have, I honestly, we have Amazon. And if you need an S-video cable, Eugene, you can still buy them.
I know I could have. And that's when I looked, I was like, do I really want to spend like $5 on this video cable? I'm like, it's fine. It'll be okay.
You know how much time we waste trying to find that thing that we
exactly. That's another thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am allowed one bucket in the house of my stuff.
One box.
One
box.
One box.
So everything fits in that.
Miscellaneous wires.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
And that's it. And
That's
the lid's got to close.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I have it.
It's been trucking around since our first house.
Yep. And I have utilized stuff within it.
I will admit I have seen you open it to look for things.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, but see,
Oh,
that's good because you are keeping stuff, but it's you know, because you have a limited amount of space, it has to be the good stuff.
That's right.
So that's good.
Right,
Yeah,
but that's
it works.
because of me. Because if I didn't say you only get one bucket, it would be all the things.
The base
It
would
would
be
be
full.
covered. It would be so full.
Be a 55-gallon drum, it wouldn't be a bucket.
Like I had a bunch of, I mean, granted, some of them I could use for something else, but I'm like, I had a bunch of standoffs and like PC screws and all this other
Yes.
stuff. And I'm just like, I thought about it right before I was moving. I was just like, when was the last time you built a PC? I was like, well, when I built Alex's PC, I was like, did you need any of that stuff? No. Did a lot of that stuff even work any modern PC? No, because things have
No.
changed. And I'm just like, then why are you keeping this shit? Are you gonna go grab an old PC out of the dumpster and try to refurb? No. Then throw it away or donate it or do something with it. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's gone.
Just throw it away. Just put it in a bucket and set it next to the trash. Somebody will see it and take it, maybe.
Yeah. So, and see, I wish if I lived in Austin, there's a place called Creative Reuse, and like I would take a ton of that stuff there because, like, I've walked through there and I'm just like, man, there's some really cool stuff in here that you could use for building, props and that type of stuff. But yeah,
I got to say, Kris and Ray,
Yes.
you guys inspired me a few years ago to get rid of stuff, like because y'all had talked about like trying to reduce and become simplify things and stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, that is such a good idea. And I have really tried to, I do have a lot of crap, but not a whole lot of crap like I used to, so it's good. And it's good to constantly go back to that and be like, do I really need this thing? Do I really need this thing? Like, what do I really use?
It's a good journey to go on because now when we're looking around and we do want to fill with things, we are very intentional.
We're very mindful of what we
and I've gotten that way too. Like with the new house, Christy and I are trying to be very mindful of not just buying something to put on the wall or whatever. It's like it should have some kind of meaning or be something that I really like. Like I'm looking around my office here, and I've got some Ghostbuster stuff from like some of the movies or whatever. But like, that's awesome. Like I'm looking around here and like I've even gotten rid of a bunch of stuff, that was collector stuff. And I got rid of some books and everything else. And I'm just like, everything in here has at least some meaning to me now. And as I'm thinking about what I want to add to it, I'm like, well, do I really want that one? Is that the epitome of what I want? And so I'm trying to be a lot more selective with, in that respect. So, but like, here's another example. It's like whenever I've decided, I was going to start designing my shop and I've kind of started doing a little bit of that work. I was like, well, how can I integrate this? How can I integrate this shelf and this these thing of shelves or whatever? And I'm just like, why am I trying to integrate this stuff that doesn't really work for what I need to do? Like the shelves are either too big or too bulky and I'm just like, why am I holding on to this? Like, there's probably someone in the neighborhood. I could easily go put it out on the curb and put a message on Facebook. Hey, I have some of these plastic containers out here. They're perfectly fine. I don't need them. Do you want them? And I guarantee someone would pick them up probably within an hour.
For sure.
Instead of being like, okay, well, I guess I'll put this stuff in here, and then it fills up about that much of the bottom of the shelf or the drawer, and I've got this much of the drawer just empty space. That if I bought something else or made something else, I could get all of that space back. I could actually use all of that space to organize stuff. And like I said, I'm hitting a point in my life where I'm just like, I'll use it since I've got it now. But the first opportunity I have to make or buy something that's going to do what I really need it to do, I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to fret and worry about, well, I mean, I spent money on this and I've used it. I got my use out of it. That's the other thing I have to keep in mind. I got my use out of it.
Yeah.
And that's
it's not,
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're giving the gift to somebody else.
Exactly.
Or it's being recycled or it's being.
It's still part of the sustainability chain. Like we're going through this kind of with my my parents are going through a divorce. And so it's like my mom has a lot of heirlooms and collectibles, but she collects it for herself.
Yeah.
And both my sister and I are like, that's like, Mom, you can will it to us if you want, but like, it's your stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean the same thing to you as it does to us. Like the sentimentality is completely gone for us. And so that's what we're trying to do with our things. It's like, yes, we want things in our house that mean something to us, but we have to understand that it's our stuff. It's not the kids' stuff. It's not their burden to carry on. When we go, they have their own things. And, you know, when my grandparents were selling their house and downsizing, they had to have an auction that lasted all day because my grandpa is both my grandparents are depression babies, but he like took it to the nth degree.
Oh yeah.
Everything. It took an entire day of auctioning he had a dozen different tractors in different states of disrepair because they were parts, but he needed them. And he's super autistic and he doesn't know yet, but he totally is because of the level of detail and like the level of like meticulousness. And he would die under his junk before he would like admit that a lot of this stuff was just junk.
He had one of his friends buy the car so that he didn't have to sell the car.
Exactly. So that he kind of tried to circumvent the system. And it's just all stuff at the end of the day, right? Like, you know, it's just stuff. Trends come and go. You change as a person. So what you liked 10 years ago, you might not like now, and that's okay. And it's like, I don't know, we're like little pack rats. It's weird. And
that's a good point. Like I was thinking about that. My daughter doesn't want anything that I have.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to her, like we had discussions about like, what if I was to pass away? Is there anything? And she's like, I don't want any of this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's I
love you so much, but this is something for you. So it's your thing. It's not my thing. And I know people like I'm going to say boomers, get very offended. And you're like, what do you mean you don't want my stuff? It's like, because it's not my stuff. I don't have memory that's attached to the thing. It's your thing.
So that being said, there are some things in this house that I have from a great grandparent. So when my great grandmother passed away, her mother, I think I have her cane, and like it's pretty cool that I have that. There are some little trinkets that I enjoy. I have my grandfather's pocket watches, and I, you know, those hold sentimentality for me,
right?
Because they're things that represent that person to me. But if my things, like, I think for Logan and Quinn, it'll be songs that recommend or that are
movies
that are reminiscent for them. So or sentimental, for them. I don't know. So it'll be that type of a thing for them rather than actual material things.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I even posted an article. I can't remember which one of the channels I posted it on, but I posted this article. It's not Himalayan. What is it? It's a Nordic country, and it's Swedish. Maybe it's Swedish. It's Swedish death cleaning.
Yeah, Swedish death cleaning. Yeah.
And I read it, and I was just like, "Oh, this totally makes sense." Because let's just look around here in the back of my office here. Are they going to want some of the board games? I don't know. Maybe they're not really that big of board gamers, but who knows? They may want some of those. They may want some of the Transformer stuff that I have, but I mean, these are not their Transformers. These are not the ones that they grew up with or whatever. They may want some of my Ghostbuster stuff, if specifically because, you know, it may be, well, that was Dad's and that's how I remember Dad. So I'm going to hold on to that. Yeah. But the rest of this stuff, like I fully, you know, I've already come to the mindset that when the time comes, hopefully much later down the line, but sometime down the line, I need to sell it. Yeah. And I would rather hand them the cash that it's worth. Number one, because if they have no interest in holding on to it, that's something else they have to do. Yeah. But also they may not know what it is. Like they may be like, oh, well, yeah, I'll sell this for, I don't know, I might can get $20 for it. Of course, someone's just like, someone's selling a $200 whatever for $20. And then I've screwed my kids out of that money, and I don't want to have to put them through that.
Yeah.
But then, like you were saying, like when my grandmother passed, like my grandmother is still slowly declining. She's now 95. And like we were telling my aunt, we're like, if she's got the money, you need to hire someone to help you out. Like she's basically, my mom goes out and helps, and then one of my cousin's wives goes out and helps. But like she has a little bit of money, and she's just like, well, I've been trying to be studious and take care of it. And we're like, Tammy, no one is expecting a windfall when grandma passes. Like everyone's going to come into that house. We're probably all going to find a couple of little trinkets or something that remind us of her. I already have 2 or 3 little things picked out. I said, but that's it. Like no one here is expecting a windfall. If it's her money, spend it on her.
Yeah.
Get her a nurse that can come stay with her and help you mentally, because we know this is burning you out. But it's one of those things. It's like when she passes, I've already gone through this with my dad. It was, my brother and I kept the few things that we wanted to keep, and the rest of it, like, we didn't have a problem selling it or donating it, or in some case, throwing it away. But like one of his best friends is like, we could tell he's kind of in the same mentality of hoarding stuff. And so you could tell it was really bothering him that we were getting rid of some of the stuff. And we had to have several talks with him, like, Johnny, it's junk, man. It is honestly junk. I know you still associate it with him because you'd come over and hang out with him, but man,
it's a trauma response.
Yeah, it is.
Response. Yeah. It's a trauma, like that intense hoarding of like, and like getting anxious about the thing.
Yes.
It's an echo of something traumatic.
Yep.
And that's something you got to look at, because now it's just stuff.
When my daughter moved out, she was staying with me for a while. When she moved out, I gave her this quilt that my grandma had made. And I got it from my aunt recently when I helped her move. My grandma had given me one years ago, but I don't even know what happened to it. It's been gone forever. But this one that I got from my aunt, I gave to my daughter when she left. And I feel like that's good.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to give her. And she'll probably, like you said, and you'll never know what the thing is that, like, because like for my grandma, I keep like a couple little crocheted things that she did. There's no way she could have ever known that was what I would keep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
you know what the number one thing is I want to get from my grandmother? The skillet she used to cook hamburgers. She hasn't cooked hamburgers in probably a decade. I know there's no magic to the skillet. There's no reason why it's special in any way except for me.
Yes.
And when I die, hell, even Christy would be like, I don't remember why we have this old.
Nobody would want it. You wouldn't.
But I want it.
It's just for
exactly.
you, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't pick your legacy.
No, you can't.
Remember you. So you may think, oh my God, the kids are gonna love this thing that I'm getting. It's like they might not even remember it or understand why, and it'll be some far-fetched little nothing, and you're like that, and it's like,
there's no way it'll be something you don't even. You'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't even know. Like, so
it's crazy.
The one thing that I've talked about with Kris about being a maker and being kind of creative and stuff like that is we have art in this house that was painted by somebody a very long time ago that we have no idea who it is. But I love it and I adore it and I enjoy it in our house. And if one piece of mine is out there somewhere, and I don't care who it is, and if they're enjoying it, that means a lot to me as well, that I've left something on this earth that somebody else can enjoy. And who
that's
knows
an awesome thought.
And so that's why I still make, and that's why I still, because at least something of mine is still out there potentially, right? It's fun because I do know of at least 2 paintings that are not in this house that are being hung in somebody else's houses right now.
And enjoyed.
Yep. And it's kind of cool that they're out there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're running a little long, so we're going to run through. Hope everyone's been thinking about what they want to try to work on for next time. I'm going to go ahead and go first, since I went first in the first round. And copy paste. I've got to finish updating Nicholas's clone armor, and I've got to get Alex's costume done.
Mhm.
And anything else over that is gravy. Like if I get anything else done, great. I do have some ideas for some of that stuff, but I'm not going to push it because I've got a definite time, like Halloween. I've got to get this stuff done, and maybe even earlier than that because tomorrow, Saturday, I'm supposed to be on some kind of a call with people in this neighborhood. They're wanting to do a trunk or treat, like organize a trunk or treat. And I'm just like, yes, I want to be part of the planning committee for that. That would be kind of fun. So, and I've already asked Nick, I was like, are you going to go trick or treating this year? And he goes, yeah, I may still do it. And I'm just like, all right, cool. If not, you can always hang out at the house and hand out candy. I mean, either way, but Halloween's a hard deadline for getting these costumes done, but it may be earlier than that so that they can wear them at some other event. So, yeah, working on costumes. That's all I'm shooting to get done. So,
Thanks.
Chris,
This
what are you
is
trying to get done?
Yeah,
This
will
is
be for
November, right?
Yeah. for
The next time we do this one will be November.
November. Continue, like, get my writing back into my daily routine. I would like to try bread making, not sourdough. Just get. I found a bread recipe
Cornbread.
online.
It was cornbread.
Oh, the cornbread that I made. I made a cheddar zucchini cornbread, and it was really good. It was super good. So I'd like to try the bread making. And then I have to decorate for fall and Halloween. So I got to get that.
And see, that's the other thing I get done. I get decorations out. So
Yeah, I got to get those decorations out. And I need to purge my Christmas decorations since we're not doing Christmas. We're doing Yule. I got to get a lot of that stuff out because I don't put 95% of it out and haven't in years. So it's just collecting dust in the basement. So that's got to go. So that's it.
Good plan. Ray, what you going to work on?
So I'm going to continue with the life drawings. I really want to keep going with that. And then I'm going to put on there that I want to get the shop cleaned out. That's a requirement. So I'll leave it at that.
Sounds good. Cy, anything in particular you want to work on, or are you still just in chill mode, man?
I don't know. I was sitting here trying to think. I don't know. I gotta reorganize my living room because I moved everything when I changed my gaming setup, and it's a mess in there. I don't even want to go in there right now. But
see, that should be your motivation to get it done so you can reclaim the living room.
Yeah, but for what?
For you. Do it for you, man.
For you. You deserve to have nice spaces.
Yeah. He's like, I've got a nice space. Don't you see the lights going?
Yeah. This is all I need.
Like it. I like it. This is all I need.
This is all I need. And this microphone. And this car. Yeah. I don't know. I'll probably do that. I'll probably reorganize that. I don't know.
That sounds good.
I don't have expectations of myself. I found that I don't have a lot of focus anymore. But but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean I'm like I have nothing that I want to do. It's just I don't have plans anymore. I make plans, like little plans, like I'll do this show and I'll do another show with another friend, and maybe I'll take a trip, or maybe I won't, or I don't really know. We'll see. We'll just see how it goes.
Fair enough, man. That's awesome.
Trying to stay flexible.
There you go.
Living in the moment. You're living in the moment.
Well, that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please give us a 5-star rating wherever it is you watch or listen to the show. You can find us on all the podcast apps as well. If you want to watch the video version, you can find us on YouTube. Apparently, you can do podcasts through YouTube, so that's a thing. You can find us at Epically Geeky, where you can find all the other shows we do, including the Epically Geeky Show, Marginally Geeky Show, and Sustainably Geeky Show. If you want to follow us on social media, there's a little bit of stuff out there, mainly on Facebook and Instagram. And that's pretty much about it for the actual stuff. Where can we find you online, Ray?
The Reluctant Yeti on Instagram.
Kris?
Moody Midlife on Instagram.
Cyrus?
Super
Really?
Record Graphic 64 on Rumble.
And as always, you can find my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Gene on Facebook and Instagram. For everyone on the site, have a good night.